Hello, 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 my friends. Hi. How are you doing? How are you? Tell me, how are you doing? Be honest with me. How are you doing? These times are tough, so that's why we wanted to do something for you. It helps us too because we love to get outside, but we are trying to get you into the outdoors in your home. So we're bringing the outdoors to you.
So today is day 4 of Discover Crowsnest Pass. We're gonna go, plug your nose guys, we're gonna go on Stinky Narrows. Luckily you can't smell it over the internet. So come join us to do Stinky Narrows, and then we are looking for ways to kind of give you a little bit of hope. So that's something that we are very focused on with Uplift Adventures, is doing outdoor education. And you can only survive so many days without food, so much time without water, so much time without shelter. But studies have also shown that you can only survive so long without hope. So when you have hope, you can go a lot longer. And that's something that I really feel like we aren't being given right now, is hope. Where is that hope? I want that. So I'm inviting you to give me suggestions on how we can do some hope. I'm trying to collaborate with a few people in our community, and I want to have a big party after all of this is done. That's my biggest thing. I want to have a party. I want to celebrate that we came together as a community, that we got through this. We listened to the government, we stayed home, we quarantined, we isolated, we did social distancing, we treated other people with respect during a difficult time, because sometimes it's really hard to respect other people when you're going through such a difficult time. But remember, we're all going through difficult times. So be kind, be generous, be understanding, and listen, and
just be your best self during this time. We are going to learn so many lessons out of this. We're going to learn how to support people better. You know, how many of you have started asking, how can I support you? I mean, we weren't asking those questions before, and now we're starting to ask those. So there's just going to be some wonderful things that come out of this, and I'm really hopeful about that.
There are parts of who we are, upon the leaves and in the stars, where we're from, what we became, when we stopped believing we're the same. And there's a fire in my heart, and I see it now. When I look all around, when I look up above, and I feel
This is actually one of my favorite spots in Crowsnest Pass, and it's super easy to get to.
it's time for something new. Get ready for a change. Trying to find the words to mend all of the hurt. There's a fire in my heart.
I want to show you a little bit more pictures and stuff today. So first of all, I want to show you this SpongeBob SquarePants. I got this shirt a long time ago in Miami when I ran my first half marathon, and I was with a bunch of really good friends. Miss them lots. They're up in Edmonton. But must ask you a question. Gosh, I love it. It's such a good shirt. So today I want to tell you a little bit about some of the differences in some of the misconceptions and some of the stories that came out of the Frank slide. One of the things I like to tell people is that it happened in April. So when it's April time, there's a lot of things happening, like freeze and thaw cycles. So a lot of the slides that we see in the mountains often happen during those times. And something to think about is what comes up must come down. So the mountains were uplifted, part of the name of my business name. That was intentional. So the mountains were uplifted, and now they are coming down, and eventually over time mountains do flatten out and they become less tall. So when you look at the mountains in the Himalayas, for example, they're very, very big and they have tall peaks. They are mountains. Our mountains here in the Canadian Rockies, they stopped growing, they stopped uplifting, uppiling, whatever term you want to use, 65 million years ago. So that's when dinosaurs are around. So our mountains haven't been building here for quite some time, and slowly they've been eroding. So then you can look at mountains like the Appalachians, and they're a lot more rounded out. They're a lot more old. They're older mountains. So mountains do fall. That's gravity, that's erosion, that happens. Unfortunately, there was a town underneath Turtle Mountain, Turtle being the mountain that slid, and part of that town was covered, and that town's name was Frank. So now we have the Frank slide. Now, not the entire town was taken out. Some people think that it was the whole town. It wasn't. It was part of the town, maybe a third of the town, but it definitely wasn't the whole town. The town now, there are people that live in Frank, and the town has moved because later on they had another scare, they call it, and they moved a lot of the houses that were right below Turtle Mountain. A little bit about Turtle Mountain, another misconception is that people think that it was named by the indigenous of the area, because the indigenous, the First Nations, they did not camp under Turtle Mountain because it was the mountain that always moved. That's what they called it, the mountain that slowly moved, is what they called it. And it wasn't named by them, but they didn't camp there. They always knew that there was something a little bit off about this mountain. So they would camp in other areas, but they would travel throughout this corridor, that's for sure. And just on the other side over there, we have some trick quarries that the First Nations would use. The mountain was named by a rancher out by Lee Lake, and he thought the mountain looked like a turtle. I do have a picture here. I have a wonderful book by J. William Kerr, Frank Slide, the second edition, and I've taken these pictures from that. So this was Turtle Mountain before it slid, and people thought they saw a turtle. I guess from Lee Lake, it looks like a turtle. And some of the stories that came out of the Frank Slide are very, very, very impressive. And that's some of what we are going to talk about today. The first one I'm going to talk about is the railway. So in 1898, CPR, the Canadian Pacific Railway, decided to put a rail line through Crowsnest Pass. And a big reason was because of the coal that was in this area. And they wanted to be able to get the coal out of here. So it was kind of the lifeline to Crowsnest Pass. So in 1903, I mean, the railway hasn't been around long, but Frank Slide took out part of the railway. So they needed to rebuild that railway. They had 1,100 men working on this railway. Horses, men, and a lot of dynamite, because these rocks that fell are huge. Some of them are as big as your house. They're massive. So they had to rebuild that railway. And here's a picture of those men. Another thing is that there was a passenger train that was coming right after the slide, and one of the men that worked on the railway with CPR, Sid, he knew that there was a passenger train coming. And at 4 o'clock in the morning, I mean, it was probably a bit after 4 o'clock now, he decided to run across the slide and stop that passenger train from crashing into the slide. There's no more telecommunications. There's no way of letting the passenger train know that the slide had happened. So he set out. There's actually two men that set out to run across the slide, and Sid was one of them. And Sid made it across and was able to stop that railway from crashing into the slide. And you know, you have to kind of put yourself back there then. There was carnage, there was dust in the air, the rocks were not fun to go over. There's a lot going on, and he managed to get across this 2 kilometers of rock slide and stop this passenger train. Not an easy feat. So good on you, Sid. And the CPR recognized that too and gave him a very good reward and told him he had a lifetime of employment. So that was a big thing back then to get that. The snow is a little sketchy today.
When I look all around, when I look
Coming up to the Silver Spring, and it is so beautiful. Oh my goodness.
your love.
at the Turtle Mountain Sulphur Spring right here, mineral spring. Now the temperature is a bit warmer than the other water, but it's certainly not by any means a hot spring. And it's just such a beautiful spot. And back in the day, springs, mineral springs, were super important. I mean, that's even the whole being of Banff National Park. The cave-in basin at Banff National Park was the start of our national parks here in Canada. So this is pretty important and pretty important. And it's kind of funny because back in the day, in the early 1900s, they used to take the water from this sulphur spring and warm it up and have mineral baths. And there was a cabin that was just located right by the spring, some cabins, and then later on it moved to across the highway to the Frank Sanatorium, and they would have mineral baths in there. And I've read some pretty interesting things about how people really honored this kind of water. I mean, it's healing water for a lot of people, and some people would even drink it. Like, there was a myth or a theory that if you drink so much of this water so many times a day, you will be healthy. And I don't know, I don't think I would want to drink it. It looks pretty gross, doesn't smell very good. So plug your noses, everyone. If you're ever driving by Frank and you think someone farted in the car, no, it's the sulphur spring. So next time, don't blame it on those other people. It's just the sulphur spring. Or use this as an opportunity to fart in the car as you're going through Frank. Onto something. Hello, I'm back in my car. I just wanted to give you a little bit of update from away from the wind, and I just wanted to make it very clear that I didn't get to my objective today, and that's fine. You don't always get to your objective. When it's not safe, when it's not a good time to do it, don't do it, right? There's always another time. And one of my pet peeves with social media is that they make it look like it's easy or that everyone should do it, and sometimes they're doing stuff that isn't safe, and I've seen it, and it irks me a bit as being someone who's trained for the backcountry, and I don't promote doing things that are unsafe. So today I found out that the trail was just not in the best condition right now. There's just too much snow and too much side sloping, made for it to be a bit dangerous, and I'm by myself, so I didn't want to put myself into a bad position either. But with saying that, if you are looking for something to do, where I started, which was at the Turtle Mountain trailhead, and then I went up to that chain link fence and went around it. And when I got to the end where it drops down to go to the river, you can go right, and there's a beautiful place underneath Turtle Mountain, or you can go straight along that pipeline and go down to the river and turn left and go to the sulphur spring. And that's beautiful. It was absolutely stunning. The water is blue in there, Canada geese, there was a American dipper that I saw along the river. You see an old beaver dam. I mean, the water from the spring falls and it drops into Crowsnest River, and you can tell that used to be a beaver dam back in the day. And yeah, it's just a really beautiful spot, and then you can hike back out the same way you came in. Now, you can do that with kids if you want. I mean, little ones would probably be a little bit difficult to do that with because there is quite a bit of snow. I post holed, which means I didn't take snowshoes, and some places would have been better with snowshoes, and then some places you didn't need snowshoes at all. So this is March 20th, and that's what's going on out there right now. Have a wonderful day, everyone. We love you lots. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay awesome. Bye.